up until now, we've been fighting gangs, mostly in Star Citizen. Ninetales, we're sick of them. Xenothreat, stop being racist. What's the other people who we don't like that supposedly were the bad people and they weren't the bad people, now they're the bad people? I don't know. Humans are boring to fight. They just are. They're just like us, you know? They're just freaking human meatbags. So CIG is going to start to introduce the Vanduul more. Well, they've already started to introduce the Vanduul more. We've seen them in the first mission in Nyx. This one, where the Vanduul come and attack us.
So the Vanduul are a nomadic, very, very, very violent spacefaring race.
They've been striking out against outposts and such in the Nyx system. They don't really know what they want.
So they're introducing them as the main baddies for Star Citizen. This is because they are actually the main baddies in Squadron 42. And this is going to be a great connection to Squadron 42 once it starts to flesh out. The next big advancement in their story, though, is coming in May with the next update. So there's starting to be more of a focus in Star Citizen. I think because they're going to connect us to Squadron. I don't think they wanted to really show the Vanduul too much before they were actually in game. That being said, we did get quite a few explanations. Sorry, I can't talk today. About what they are supposed to represent in the whole game. Where they come from, why they attack us, their ships, the ship sizes, their lore. That's what we're going to go through. So sit back. We got a little deep dive. I'm going to go ahead and play some of the stuff that CIG has said about the Vanduul, and we're going to walk through what the heck they are doing attacking us humans, because we like to just attack each other. Leave us alone. First, we're looking at ship size. They got some big ships. Check this out.
So the Vanduul fleet has been in existence for quite a while. We actually, if you look online, you'll actually find lots of shots of the initial models available to various people getting into the build. These ships we've kind of taken and we really kind of had to reinvent the wheel on how we would efficiently make these ships. So previously it was kind of thought that we could kind of model all this stuff and theoretically we could, like the render would deal with that okay, but the problem that you get in the engine is that when something drops below a pixel on the screen ratio, you get anti-aliasing. So, and when you're making a ship that's completely based around metal,
oh look, it's the first whole beat.
A high risk of turning into a beetroot at a given distance. So you can kind of log that stuff out as efficiently as you want to, but it just becomes far too labor
This is the most interesting thing is you're going to notice this style of ships really changed between the original Vanduul that they're talking about here. This video is old. Yeah, this is that's actually not too old. 2016, this is right before they did a kind of a big art redo in Star Citizen, and the Vanduul style got a big change. We'll be going over that in this video.
It's really about kind of going back to the beginning and establishing, you know, a more kind of alien look, should we say?
He's literally talking about it here.
Really kind of making that kind of foundation filter through to the rest of the fleet. So our hero asset, should we say, for the Vanduul stuff is the driller at the moment. Matt and Colin have been working very hard on that and establishing really the pipeline and the work that goes into making that kind of look work. So it's not as black and white as, okay, we've made an Idris and then we go off and make a Vanduul thing. The approaches are completely different. The styles are completely different. So you kind of have to have a different mindset when you're creating this stuff. So Matt and Colin have been kind of working in isolation for a while. We've tried our best to kind of give them the room and space to kind of establish this stuff, which they have done. I think what you see today will kind of nail that for you.
So that was the first look that was the first ship essentially that they were redoing in the new Vanduul style, and we've got that actual trailer right here. This is December 16th, so just, literally the same day. I remember when this came out. Ooh, pretty ship. Ooh. Too bad it's nothing against my freaking Idris flying at 1,200 meters per second. Okay, all right. Relax, y'all. Think you're cool. So that was the new Vanduul style, the new old Vanduul. I mean, it was the new Vanduul style a decade ago. We get to see how that aged when the game does come out. But here is some talk. This was a couple years later, and I think it talked a little bit more about less the ship side and more the FPS actual character side.
Focus this month has been on their basic costumes and primary weapons.
We're working on the Vanduul armors. We're tying in their look a lot with the ships, and we're also going to see their culture kind of combined with a couple other cultures, because the Vanduul like to kind of bring in influences from other cultures, but they still have a really unique look. We're also working on the weapons. The Vanduul don't use traditional...
One of the things that they do he doesn't really talk about here is the Vanduul don't really invent stuff. They kind of take technology from other species, and they can... Like, they are really smart. It's not that they don't invent stuff because they're not smart. They invent stuff. They don't invent stuff because they're so smart that they can take other things and combine them to make better stuff. They're like almost like an engineering race, but they are nomadic and tribal, so they're always at war with each other. Hard to make good progress when that's happening. That's what he means by taking a lot of the cultures in.
Combined with a couple other cultures, because the Vanduul like to kind of bring in influences from other cultures, but they still have a really unique look. We're also working on the weapons. The Vanduul don't use traditional weapons. They don't use rifles and stuff. The main thing that we're focusing on having them use is a spear. So they have a spear which has multiple different types of states in it, a firing state, a collapse state. They also have a very close quarters knife. The knife actually plays pretty tightly into the lore of the Vanduul because it kind of ties who they are as a species. You know, we're working on different types of things and really just fleshing out the culture of the Vanduul as a whole.
That's all for this month's update.
Very short update, but I do think you get a lot of good information about what the heck the Vanduul are about. You know, they focus on hand-to-hand combat. They're very systemic in their weaponry. They take technology and make it their own. They work with plasma. You know, these aren't primitive weapons, even though they are hand-to-hand combat. And we see them used in the gameplay video. Here's another video where they just show the scale of the game. And this gives you another sense of just how big the Vanduul ships are. Again, we have plenty big human ships. You'll see them in here, but we still can't kind of compare all that well. And this is old. Some of these scales are going to be adjusted and increased since then. They're like, psh. Oof, bro. Hey, you thought they were gonna do one more, huh? So that's the big freaking ship they see in the Squadron 42 demo. Actually, we'll pull that up. That's this one. Oh, wait a second. So this is the ship we were just looking at, the King ship. Really freaking big. Big, powerful, big boy. Very commanding ship, right? And this is another thing if you didn't know. The Vanduul, they have their own language. And you can learn it if you want. I don't know how useful that's going to be. But we basically can't damage it through usual attacks. Like, the Vanduul are clearly more advanced than humanity.
Firing again. Getting away with power spike from the king ship.
We don't like power spikes.
Break, August, break! August is down. Repeat. August is down.
That right there, this is the Vanduul face. This one is burned into our culture as humans. We make this face a whole bunch when we run into them. It's a mixture of disgust, regret, a little bit of annoyance, just general annoyance. The worst thing about the Vanduul is because they're tribal and they don't actually operate as one big group. They'll just keep attacking you. One group will attack you. You fight them off, you beat them back, cool, we're good. 2 years later, another tribe attacks you. Wait, we just beat you. No, you didn't. That was our freaking other people. We hate them. That sucks, dude. It's like fighting multiple enemies. But what they didn't know is that we have Henry Cavill. Where the heck is that part? I think it's here. Yeah. It's not always the size that matters, Vanduul. So, even though the Vanduul are super advanced, you know, we're humans. What can you do? But there's some more information to learn about them. During that time period when they were kind of turning, actually, I'm going to show you a lot of this episode because this episode shows us a lot of what they used to look like, and we just finished watching what they look like now. So you get to see kind of how it's improved over time. But this talks about how they've changed the style in a lot more detail.
Other manufacturers and races, the Vanduul ships are really material driven.
Bro.
Over the time we've been working on this game, the Vanduul race and Vanduul ships art style changed a few times. We believe we found something really good and interesting that really spoke to everyone on the team with the king ship interior.
There it is. There's a perfect comparison shot to what we just watched. Where was that video? Right here. These are two different shots about, 8 years separated? They went hard on the lighting, man. They just completely occluded the star back there. But it certainly, the vibe is much darker. The ships are more clearly visible. The reds are much redder. We love our reds. They love their blues too, though. Surprised how much less blue there is. There can only be one.
Rework, and we decided last year to apply that style and those visuals to the rest of the Vanduul fleet.
By creating a Vanduul material library, we started looking into types of surface and large-scale pen textures. We often create a test room to bring all in the materials and look at them in certain light conditions, and we put it on simple geometry like spheres and cylinders.
Very Geiger.
To have the parallax occlusion mapping visible and see how it deforms on a material. And this is a very helpful way to look at the materials before we apply it on the...
It reminds me of Scorn. You guys ever seen that game? Which I guess is also, I think, rather Geiger inspired. Like these styles of like kind of organic looking shapes and materials and stuff. I don't want it to ever be exactly like Scorn though. This game was This game was kind of gross.
Ships.
So if you think about any creepy crawlies, any deep sea creatures, any kinda slimy horror-esque stuff, that's kinda what we're going for in our references, and that's what kinda all started with, again, Frank's kingship interior. He used that a lot, and it just all started from there. Looking at the Blade is a light fighter of the Vanduul fleet. So obviously making it look sleek and nimble and lightly armored was the big objective on this ship. The main difference really between the Squadron Blade and the Blade you know is the cockpit area. Some of you might know that the Vanduul, the way they sit in a cockpit is sort of like we sit on the bikes.
It's a little exposing.
This is kind of where this bird of prey look of the ship comes into play, which naturally, if you're looking mostly down and forward, the way you want to approach your prey is from above. So that's why the ship has the most armor on the areas where, on the top of the ship where pilot doesn't look, and it's slightly armored at the bottom where he's kind of heading and he doesn't have to worry about.
The exposed underbelly.
It's this beetle situation. Nice hard shell at the top.
It's kind of crazy, actually. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is like Gen 2. They had an original version of the Blade, and then this was the second generation version.
It's beetle.
And now he's showing us the update to this third version.
Soft, busy, high.
And I'm betting there's a fourth version in what we actually ended up getting, because this is 6 years ago.
Frequency areas on the bottom and the cockpit that looks not like a human technology.
And at some point, you gotta tell yourself either, okay, this is how game development works, and other game studios probably go through this and iteration after iteration after iteration, and that's crazy. And I would love to see that from every game. Or you could tell yourself, oh, Star Citizen's super incompetent and like no other game studio does this. I imagine it's somewhere in between. I imagine there's some of you who work in game studios who see this kind of stuff on your week to week, month to month, year to year kind of work. But I am forever grateful that we get to go back and watch all of this and get a better understanding of how these things move through the work over time.
At all. So if it comes to Vanduul weapons, the Vanduul create their weapons sort of like the rest of their technology, which is they scavenge what they can from battlefields and from other races, however else they can find the components they need. One of the issues on the old Scythe was that the weapons were part of the ship. This is something we wanted to definitely resolve on the new one. Visual aspects of the ship is we did like asymmetry a lot. That definitely has to stay. It's fairly iconic, but we wanted to make sure the ship looks much more balanced than it was before. And we also wanted to give it those kind of medium fighter characteristics, which is it has armor plating, looks a little bit slower than the faster nimble ships, but it's definitely looks like it can do better maneuvers than a heavier ship for the Vanduul and other races.
They look a lot more visceral than they used to me. What do you guys like, the old or the new style more?
If it comes to Glaive, we wanted to use this opportunity to give it a unique look, so it doesn't look like.
So there's Gen 1, right? This is the old style of Squadron 42 of the Vanduul. This is the original style that they chose for them.
Like a scythe with extra wing.
So this would be Gen 3. What's your choice? You more into
special. So it looks
more into Gen 3 or Gen 2? Or sorry, Gen 1. Gen 1, Gen 3. Gen 1, Gen 3. Gen 1 did have the folding wings. I bet some people are real into that. But this looks so much cleaner. This looks more like an alien ship made out of alien materials. This looks more like an alien ship that was a replica.
Scythe with extra wing on the other side. Also, we wanted to make it look special, so it looks similar to other ships, but in its own right, fairly unique. We like the bird of kind of prey, aggressive silhouette and look. We kind of wanted to emphasize on that a little bit more, which also suited the art style of Vanduul, especially when looking at the other ships. The smaller Vanduul ships definitely have this bird of prey kind of look to them. This is a bit of a peek into what we've created for Vanduul, for Squadron 42, which was a very exciting task for me, and working with Frank on developing this and with Nate, our director. That was incredibly rewarding, and I hope you like what we came up with, and see you in the verse.
Dang, dude. Yeah, it looks so much more menacing, the new style. I really like it. I want to look something up real quick that I just heard him say, and I want to double check something. I want to see when Nate Dearsley joined as the art director. When did he join? Was tasked with coming up with the design and concept for the Avenger. Okay, so he must have been in there pretty early. Foundry 42. Okay, so he was with Crytek until December. And then he joined Squadron 42. I do think that Nathan Dearsley might be a big reason for why Squadron 42 is so different. I'm going to do some more looking into that, though. Now, this is a look into the Vanduul on the lore side of things, which should be interesting. This is talking a little bit more about their motivations from like the writer's point of view.
What are your thoughts on Vanduul NPCs in the persistent universe?
Watch out for them, probably.
Yeah.
Do not interact.
Yeah. Run.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of a two-pronged question of like, whether that's NPCs as far as like hostile forces that you could potentially come across, or NPCs as like, hey, there's a Vanduul shopkeeper named Jerry.
I was gonna say, that's exactly where I was going. Is there a Vanduul
Jerry?
Along with
would love a Vanduul
Jerry?
shopkeeper.
I mean, as it stands now, the hope is that as you start kind of getting closer to the systems that are, near the Vanduul border, you're going to have to start dealing with them as a possible raiding force. But
literally Star System 3. We did not get very far.
And we've alluded in the past that there are certain Banu that have managed to establish, trade relations with Vanduul, but and sort of hinted that, there's a possibility that maybe a human could try and pull it off, but as it stands now, like, no one's ever done it. So good luck.
We're trading with the Vanduul plenty.
Wear your armor.
Just their bodies.
Yeah, and with the Vanduuls having clans and stuff, when we start getting to those border systems, I think, you'll start seeing kind of the differences start emerging between the different groups of Vanduuls you encounter, and that might take the form of, actually having recognizable. We don't want them to be a unified, just faceless force that attacks you, and like all that kind of stuff. So there will be plans to develop it, but as far as like dealing with them while the active war is going on, I think that's going to be a tricky proposition for anyone in the UAE to accomplish.
Well, and also going off what Will was saying earlier, like, there is that thing too of, if, say, for example, like, we publish a thing next week that's like, oh, hey, so-and-so found Jerry the Vanduul and he's super friendly and stuff like that. Like, that's not that satisfying from a player standpoint. Like, wanting to save the development of, where the future goes from here in the universe, like, until players can actually start to theoretically be able to affect that change is much more dynamic and interesting.
It's kind of what you talked about before. There is a not insignificant amount of lore already out there for Star Citizen, and that said, it's still. I understand the desire to still keep things closer to the chest. Discovery is such a key aspect of Star Citizen's intended end game. You don't want to sit there and spoil everything on live streams. Years earlier. Stop it. All alien races are humanoids.
I'm pretty sure the actual introduction of the Vanduul to the PU as an enemy was spoiled by a live stream. Like, I'm pretty sure it's this live stream that we were watching in here. Where was that? It was the one from last year. They showed us the Vanduul coming to the PU before we got to play it in the PU. It's like right. Yeah, this was it. This was the big reveal that the Vanduul are coming to the PU.
From a surprising but familiar foe.
Not to hold their words against them after 6 years. It's hard to keep everything together that long. But I do think, you know, looking back on it, feels like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
How do you make them, all alien races they know about are humanoids. How do you make them different than humans?
I think that's a specious term, first of all. I don't think we should be calling them humanoid.
Yeah, bipedal or die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's always that thing of the. I don't know. For me, it's that sort of weird balance of like trying to. I mean, we are making a game, so there's that sort of the humans of Star Citizen, of the UEE and stuff like that. Like, you know, how do the Xi'an react with them and stuff like that. So you want to build those sorts of conflicts, and you know, humans believe this, so the Xi'an might believe that. If we want to make a little bit of kind of headbutting there, yeah, I don't know. For me, you know, there's also that aspect of like trying to come up with like unique ways that they could have developed, like writing out, actually we did a time capsule thing for the Xi'an, so writing out their history, like big events that happened throughout their history, and that actually really helped kind of establish that mindset of how they would approach something as a completely distinct culture.
Just a little bit of extra lore about the Vanduul, and I've got the page up for them here so we can do a little bit more deep diving into that, because I think we've actually painted a pretty clear picture of them, but the thing that is missing for me when it comes to the Vanduul is two things. First of all, I don't hate them. I don't hate them, and I'm not scared of them. And almost everything we've seen of them is bad stuff and scary things. It just hasn't felt all that impactful. I mean, look at their freaking pictures, dude. I don't want to hug this guy. Look at his eyes, bro. That's Florida man right there on some bath salts. I'm not trying to deal with him. So they've kind of got it going for them. I'm not that intimidated by them as their actions in the game go. When we see them fighting in these different gameplay videos, they kind of are just like still the same difficulty as other human pilots. When we see them fighting in oh my god, when we saw them fighting in the gameplay, the Squadron 42 gameplay. Let me go back to that real quick. This is just the worst. This whole segment. Like, they're not scary at all. These guys just stand in front of you. Look at you. What are you even doing? You expect me to believe you got through space unscathed? Or like, there's another section in here where he runs into the... And I understand like this is somewhat due to the actual difficulty of the AI and their ability to have AI that comes off as scary and difficult to fight. But I think they need that. This doesn't come off as a great... This right here, what we're about to see, is your first hand-to-hand encounter with a Vanduul. Do you guys remember your first hand-to-hand encounter with a boomer in Gears of War? Oh my bro. That was so scary. That was not... You remember your first encounter with the Flood in Halo? I need a little more than this. Just, you setting these guys up to be real big baddies, real scary boys. Even the freaking speech that the old man gave in anticipation of this was like, okay, we need to fight these dudes.
The entire Vanduul fleet has
But
just entered the system.
when you actually run into them,
This means a kingship is headed our way.
it's scary. I hear you.
Now, some of you will not survive today,
They didn't.
but there will be no
He's
time
right.
for sorrow. We will have to grieve for them later.
So yeah, I won't drag it on. Clearly, they're building up these guys to be pretty bad, pretty hateful, pretty big. Although, as we've talked about, it's not all size. Okay, Vanduul. Stop bagging on us. They've got a lot of lore. They've got a lot of depth. They go to war against each other. They go to war against us. They take other forms of technology. All this stuff. They're the big baddies. They have literally destroyed some of our star systems. The Vanduul haven't contacted humanity and are following a strict suicide doctrine, so very little is known about them as a species. Human off-world settlements in the 25th century started during the fast star push, with the result of Vega, Tiber, and Virgil being discovered and colonized, followed by the settlement of Orion, and no Vanduul were spotted during this period, but then they came and they just burned it all. We don't know why. But I do hope that they can do a little bit more than we've seen so far in making them actually scary in both Squadron and in Star Citizen. I want to hate these guys. Like, have them actually do stuff that feels like a direct attack on my being. Tell them to run around the game calling us all whales and it's a scam or something. I don't know. But make them a little bit more enticing, in my opinion. I mean, it's not really much you can do at this point for Squadron. I'm hopeful that we see a little bit more from them in that regard. Anyways, there's your deep dive into the Vanduul. Hope you enjoyed and got some information. Cheerio.